Okay, y'all, I wanted to show you this quick little video on population density. So what is population density? It's how many people live in a certain area. Another way to think of it is how crowded a place is. Alright, so for example, you see this place on the left. This is like a metro or a really populated area, like a big city. So in big cities, you're going to have higher population density. Think about like an apartment building, right? You might have 1,000 people living on one square block. Versus a very rural place, like a farm, you might have that same area and just a single family living there, so only like 5 people, which means the population is more dense in a city than it would be on a farm, or it's more crowded in a city. So you measure population density. If you see this formula up here, it's population, so the number of people, divided by the area, which is basically what we just said. So you might want to write that down or just remember it. All right, so the first example they gave here had low population density because there were only, I think, like 3 or 4 people in that same shape, right? That same like rectangular shape. Versus here, there's a lot more people in the same amount of space. So why are some places more densely populated than others? Is it just happenstance, or is there a reason? People live some places because they're able to get things that they need, for example, housing or food, and other things that they want, like shopping. But why are those places there to begin with, right? People usually come to those places. They don't just exist in the beginning. All right, so it's maybe a little strange to look at this map of Massachusetts. Let me let this get out of the way real quick. Notice that the more red, the more highly population or highly dense the population is in that area. So most of the population is centered right here around the water. So generally across the world, water is a big source of population. And you may remember this from geography, but a lot of that comes from one, that's like how trade can travel. So like in like Egypt, you think about the Nile River. There's a really dense population there because people could travel and have trade along the water. In Massachusetts, it would also make sense that this would be highly populated because a big thing coming out of Massachusetts is crab and lobster and sea life. So a lot of people make their money that way by fishing off the coast. Where less populated areas would be here in the center because there's just not as easy to get the things that you need or to make the money that people need. All right, so that's really the basics of population density.